Alright, so this video came out in 2016 and has 5.5 million views, so I thought I would go over it for you guys and debunk it. The video is Dennis Prager giving details about his version of an ideal American high school. So without further ado, let's get into the video.
If every high school principal gave the following speech, America would be a much better place. To the students and faculty of our high school, I am your new principal and honored to be so. There is no greater calling than to teach young people. I would like to apprise you of some important changes coming to our school.
Couple questions I have for Dennis. What state is the school in? Which part of the state? How much funding will it get? What are the demographics? And how many people will go there? Given that all these variables are different around the country, not all high schools in America can be treated the same way. For example, there is a different average amount of money spent per student depending on which state you live in. Each state's curriculum would have to change to be identical to one another, and you can definitely not treat it as though all high school students are the same. Prager's curriculum would be viewed very differently in a predominantly white upper-class district than it would in a district that is more diverse or a district that was subject to redlining. But in all districts, it's equally as nonsensical.
First, this school will no longer honor race or ethnicity. I could not care less if you are black, brown, red, yellow, or white.
First of all, extreme boomerism saying yellow and red. And second, these are things that cannot be ignored. If the color of one's skin is not seen, then the way they are being treated because of the color of their skin cannot be seen as well.
I could not care less if your origins are African, European, Latin American, or Asian.
Okay, does he mean your personal origins or your ethnic origins? If he means ethnic origins, then the previous statement about color applies. If he means personal origins, then you can't expect someone from a completely different country who's never gone to school before will immediately know what's going on as soon as they join. I must say, it is amazing how fast some foreign students can pick up the curriculum though, but they should have access to extra help if they need it, and that should be true for all students.
Or if your ancestors arrived here on the Mayflower or on slave ships.
This is just another way of saying I don't care if you're black or white, so once again the same argument applies, but you're also saying I don't care about your ancestors' experiences, and a lot of those experiences literally shape America's system today.
The only identity this school will recognize is your individual identity, your character, your scholarship, your humanity. And the only national identity this school will recognize is American.
Wait, what about all the other nationalities? Like, what if you're from Canada or Bangladesh? Do you just forget about that nationality?
This is an American public school, and American public schools were created to make better Americans.
Better American is as vague as you can get. To quote J. Anthony Lucas on page 121 of his book called Common Ground, in 1784, a town meeting declared that Boston schools should serve the benefit of the poor and the rich, that the children of all, partaking of equal advantages and being placed upon an equal footing, no distinction might be made among them in the schools on account of the different circumstances of their parents, but the capacity and natural genius of each might be cultivated and improved for the future benefit of the whole community. So yeah, public schools were actually created to make sure that children born into poor families can also get equal access to education. I wonder if Dennis Prager would be cool with recognizing an undocumented immigrant as American, because that's fucking based if he is.
If you wish to affirm here an ethnic or racial identity or a national identity other than American, you will have to attend another school.
Okay, that is definitely illegal. Denying attendance to students who express their identity is denial of equal protection.
This includes after-school clubs. I will not authorize clubs that divide students based on identities such as race, ethnicity, sexual orientation, or whatever else may become in vogue in our society. Those clubs cultivate narcissism, an unhealthy preoccupation with the self.
Dennis Prager does not care about narcissism. Do you know why Dennis Prager does not care about narcissism? Because he supports Donald Trump. Identity-based extracurricular activities are good for the students. For example, gay-straight alliances have been proven to improve conditions of LGBTQ students in a school. Lower suicide rates, less victimization, and higher academic achievement. Other safe spaces for historically marginalized groups have also been proved to ease one's mental health. Being listened to and a break from constant judgment from the outside world both are provided by safe spaces is not narcissism and is the furthest thing from it. Now, why does Dennis Prager not want there to be a GSA in his school? Well, in an article from a while back, Prager wrote, "My religion not only prohibits homosexuality, it unequivocally, unambiguously, and in the strongest language at its disposal, condemns it." In other words, I am not going to allow my students to talk about homosexuality within my school because my religion does not allow it. Say, that kind of sounds like an unhealthy preoccupation with oneself. So if Dennis Prager doesn't actually care about narcissism and GSAs improve the conditions of LGBTQ students in a school, why doesn't Dennis Prager want there to be GSAs? It's because he's homophobic, by the way.
While the purpose of education is to get you to think beyond yourself. The school's clubs will be based on interests and passions, clubs that transport you to the wonders and glories of art, music, astronomy, languages you do not already speak, and more. If the only extracurricular activities you can imagine being interested in are those based on ethnicity, race, or sexual identity, that means that little outside of yourself really interests you.
You don't need to be gay to join a GSA, hence the name Gay Straight Alliance. It is an opportunity for those who do not identify as LGBTQ to learn about the community.
Second, I do not care whether English is your native language. My only interest in terms of language is that you leave this school speaking and writing English as fluently as possible. The English language has united America's citizens for over 200 years, and it will unite us at this school. Furthermore, I would be remiss in my duty to ensure that you will be prepared to successfully compete in the job market.
No, your duty as a principal should not just be to prepare students for the job market where they can get paid $7 an hour. School is about learning what works and what doesn't work, learning about what needs to change. But most importantly, your duty as a principal should be to make sure that your students are in an environment that is adequate for learning and their well-being.
If you leave this school without excellent English language skills.
What Prager should be focusing on is communication skills. You can speak perfect English and still be toxic in a work environment, which will lower your chances of competing in the job market more than if you're not able to speak perfect English. Communication is always key.
We will learn other languages here. It's deplorable that most Americans only speak English. But if you want classes taught in your native language rather than in English, this is not the right school for you.
Except for said foreign language classes, right? No, I'm playing. Obviously, you need to integrate both languages, relying less on English as you go along. Unless, of course, genius Dennis Prager has an alternative or something.
Third, because I regard learning as a sacred endeavor, everything in this school will reflect learning's elevated status. This means, among other things, that you and your teachers will dress accordingly. There will be a dress code at this school.
That's vague. What's the policy? Is it going to disproportionately target women like nearly every other dress code in the country? Are the guys going to have to dress like it's fucking Sunday school?
And you will address all teachers by their title, not by their first name. They are your teachers, not your pals.
What if the teachers want to be called by their first name? He didn't even say unless given permission by the teacher. So I guess in this school, teachers don't choose what their students call them. That's up for dear leader Dennis Prager to decide.
Fourth, no obscene language will be tolerated anywhere on this school's property. By obscene language, I mean the words banned on radio and television, plus epithets such as the B word, even when addressed by one girl to another, or the N word, even when used by one black student to another.
Wait a second. Okay, this is actually really funny.
It is my intent that by the time you leave this school, you will be among the few your age to distinguish between the elevated and the degraded, the holy and the obscene.
Holy and obscene? Does this guy know that public schools can't promote religion?
Fifth, we will end all self-esteem programs. In this school, self-esteem will be attained in only one way, the only way self-esteem can be attained, by earning it. One immediate consequence is that graduating classes will have one valedictorian, not 8.
Who cares? Finishing top of the class is already competitive-ass culture anyway, and you're just adding to it by doing this.
Sixth and last, I am reorienting the school toward academics and away from politics and propaganda.
This is funny because the entirety of PragerU is literally propaganda.
No more time will be devoted to racism, sexism, Islamophobia, homophobia, global warming, tobacco, or gender identity.
Why would you not teach your students about these things? Actually, I know the answer why. It's simple. Dennis Prager ultimately wants his students to believe America perfect, and all these things on the screen are not perfect. And given that these things are commonly put on display in America, there is a chance that his students might form an opinion that is not identical to America perfect. What I really want to know is how would you teach an American history course and leave out racism? Like, oh yeah, the Jim Crow South wasn't racist, those were just corporate rights. And the main reason that the Civil War was fought was because the South wanted to maintain their states' rights.
No more classes will be devoted to condom wearing and teaching you to regard sexual relations as no more than a health issue.
Does Dennis Prager really believe that if he doesn't teach a sex ed course, then his students won't have sex for fun? Well, let me tell you, that will not be the outcome. If students do not learn how to use condoms, then there is a higher chance that they will become teen parents. And I'm sure Dennis Prager wouldn't want a woman choosing what to do with her own body and getting an abortion now, would he? So yeah, I hope you can see now why it's a bad curriculum. It's kind of similar to Trump's 1776 project, which was thankfully discontinued by President Biden. But yeah, that's it. Thanks for watching. Be sure to subscribe and leave a comment down below on which PragerU video you want me to debunk next, and I will see you then.